Hello guys, Ryan from Husky Moving here, Arlington, Massachusetts. We are a full-service commercial and residential moving company. We do assembly work, handyman work, we do light plumbing, we do artwork mounting, TV mounting. What else do we do? Hang blinds. A little bit of light yard work. I want to talk to you about a job I had last week. It was a customer that hired me that had a lot of concerns about cost, which I completely understand. So I want to talk to you about that a little bit. So, as I've been in business, not a long period of time, a couple of years now, I've realized the value of trying to move towards people who aren't super concerned with cost. For me personally, it's where the direction I want to go. No right or wrong, it's just whatever you're interested in. But what I've found is with people who aren't super concerned about cost, they're more concerned about like value, the job, the entire experience, and that's kind of where I want to be. As a general rule, I don't want to be handcuffed by people like looking at the clock. I don't want to be feeling as if people are like watching everything we're doing. And there's just, if I'm being completely honest with you, there's a lot of bullshit that can sometimes, not all the time, sometimes go along with people who are super thrifty. Um, there are a lot more issues with payment. There are a lot more issues with people trying to um, I'm going to use the word scam you, um, like non-payment, trying to get you to um, remove time from the clock, not wanting to pay for certain things, which again is their right. Everyone's entitled to act however they want to act. What I've noticed over years and years and years and years and years of doing thousands upon thousands of jobs is people who are super, super, super concerned with cost are typically just more difficult to deal with overall, on an average. Doesn't mean you're that way. If you're a customer and you're watching this and you tend to be super concerned about cost. I got hired on a job last week. The job was to, what was the job to do? It was to move an apartment, it wasn't moving an apartment. It was to move a bed, a mattress, and I think that's all they wanted to do. That's what I got hired for. And they very specifically said they wanted to do an hour's worth of time. That was something that they mentioned in the hiring process, and the travel time alone to get from their current house to their new place was, I think it was like 20 minutes or something. So there, right there and then, it tells you it's most likely it's not going to be an hour. Anyone with even a small amount of common sense would tell you if I've had to go to a house, disassemble a bed, um, get the bed wrapped up for transport, um, put the mattress in a mattress bag, and then drive it 20 minutes and then unload it to a third floor, which is what it was going to. It's probably not going to be an hour. Just common sense. Whatever, no big deal. When I get there, I asked if there was anything other than what they hired before that they wanted me to do. And they added on some other items, including like 4 car tires, um, some other smallish stuff. It wasn't even a big deal. Like a office chair, I think, something like that. Stuff that they don't want to handle on their own. None of this was a big deal. I was actually super thankful for the job, and the job was what I would consider to be really easy. I just had to disassemble the bed, put the mattress in a bag, wrap up a couple of pieces, get in the truck. I don't even know how long it took me. I wasn't paying attention. It doesn't really matter. The point of the story is when we get to the unload, the girl was super concerned about a bunch of different things, which is okay. That's her right. She's entitled. She's paying for my services, so she's entitled. I'm not shitting on her at all. This is not the purpose of this. Um, when we got there, she then told me there were 2 beds already set up in the room where her current bed was being put in. She asked if I could break down the 2 beds that were in there. So again, now she's adding more items that she wants done onto the clock, which is great. More money for me. But of course, that's going to then take more time, obviously. She asked if I could disassemble the beds. I said I could. I asked her if she wanted me to reassemble the bed that I brought from her old place. She said no, she was going to handle it. And then she switched and said she was going to handle breaking down the old beds too. So this is the point of the video. So now we're at a point where, for this customer in particular, money is more important than convenience. The vast majority of my customers in Boston, doesn't mean it's going to be what you're going to see, but in Boston, the vast majority of my customers are super concerned about convenience. They don't want to get their hands dirty. They want to make things easy. They have a job done. They're making good money. They don't give a shit about what they're paying you. They just want it done. They want it out of their lives done. Doesn't mean that's going to be your reality. This girl was more concerned about cost, so this is abnormal for me. It's not what I'm used to. She's more concerned about cost. She's going to do the work on her own. At least that's what she's telling me. I say, okay, no problem, and here's the point of the video. Now, at this point, now I'm getting to the point where I'm completely understanding. For her, cost is the most important thing. Everything else is taking a back seat. So now, the point of this video is, how are we going to then manage things to make her happy? So for me, what it looked like, and this is what I want you to take away from the video, what it looked like for me was, I said, hey, why don't we do this? I'm going to keep running stuff from the truck. She had said she wanted to keep it now to a certain time frame. She was going to disassemble the beds. She was going to reassemble a new bed. She just wanted me to bring stuff upstairs. And she also added on that she wanted me to bring stuff from her car up to the third floor as well. So now the priority in her mind is she wants to get everything from downstairs up to the third floor. So I said, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to empty out the truck first, because as soon as that truck is empty, literally, if you decide you want me to go, you can just say, you're out of here, done, stop the clock. So now that's one bottleneck for you that I can take off your plate, meaning I'm going to empty the truck first. Once the truck's empty, if you want to shut it down, you can shut it down. Then the next thing we can do is I'll empty out the car. And then if you get to a point where once the car's emptied out, then you want to get me out of here, then you can get me out of there then. Sound good to you? Let her talk. Sounds great to me. Fantastic. So now we're working with her, or trying to work with her, under what she's told me her priorities are, which is saving cost. In this thing, the truck would be the bottleneck, because if I start emptying out her car and it goes past the time that she wants to pay for, and there's still stuff in the truck, literally I can't leave until that stuff is out of the truck. So that's a bottleneck. Does this work for you? Yes, it is. Now, the next thing that I said to her, and this is important because this is, again, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to work with her priorities. What are her priorities here? How can I help her with her priorities? So what I said to her, gently, I wasn't like being a dickhead about it, but I said to her gently, I said, hey, why don't we do this? While I'm running stuff from downstairs to the third floor, I'm going to strongly suggest that you allow me to bring my power tools up here with my bit set, because while I'm running stuff, you could be using my tools to disassemble this bed, which you said you're going to do. She had already said she's going to do it. You could be using my power tools to disassemble this. I know for a fact I have all the equipment to make this a super easy job that's going to be quick. More often than not, when I get to a customer's house, they don't have the proper tools to make a job like that quick. They'll have like a hand screwdriver. They won't have the correct bit. They'll have like a Phillips head screwdriver, and then maybe a drill, oftentimes, sometimes a flathead screwdriver, but that's it. And this bed in particular had different Allen keys set up that you needed. The point of the story, you don't need the details. The point of the story is I said, why don't you use my tools while I'm here? Because rather than making this a 35-minute job, we can make it like a 3-minute job for you to do. You can be disassembling the beds and using my tools, and I'll be running stuff from upstairs, so you're not losing any time. Like, no time. The only thing you're losing is just the drawback of you having to use hand tools to take this apart as opposed to using power tools. Do you want to do this? Yes or no? And she was like, yes, I do. And I'm like, awesome. Great. Sold. So now, again, we're working with her under her priorities of what she wants to get done, which is what the goal of this video was. Like, okay, you've told me what your priorities are. Now it's my job to figure out how to make your life as easy as humanly possible within the parameters of those priorities. So now I'm hustling stuff up the stairs, running up as I always do. We're doing okay on time. Getting towards the end of the job, and I'm like, hey, just want to confirm, because we're getting close to the point where the truck's empty. You do not want me to disassemble these beds, and you do not want me to reassemble your bed. Is that correct? So now I'm giving her the option. Do you want to pay less money and get me out of here, but you're going to have to do the stuff on your own? Or do you want to pay a little bit more money and have me do it? And she's like, I think I'm going to have you do it. Which, if I'm being honest with you, I already knew the answer. I've done this 1,000 times before. I already knew this was going to happen. She's like, I think I'm going to have you do it. So now, my tools are already upstairs because I had told her to use my tools, which she hadn't done. My tools are upstairs. The bed comes apart. The 2 beds that were already there came apart pretty easily. It was a relatively quick process. I very quickly took those from the 2nd floor to the 3rd floor, marked them real quickly, and then it was getting to the point where we were right on the quarter hour, which is where she would have to then theoretically go to the next quarter hour. And she was keeping track of this. I wasn't. This is not. I would never say anything like that. She was keeping track of it, and she said something along the lines of, "All right, I think I'm gonna stop it now and get you out of here." And I was like, "All right, no problem." And I just said no problem, whatever. And then she left the room, and I looked down at my clock, and I had like, it was like 2 or 3 minutes before the next quarter hour or whatever it was. Now, keep in mind, this to me is nothing, but to her, it's like a big deal. She doesn't want to pay the extra time, which is fine. I get it. So I kind of like looked at my clock and I just verified I was looking at things correctly. And I was like, I called out to her. I forget her name, to be honest with you. I think it was Jessie. I called out to her and I was like, Jessie, listen, I have like just a couple more minutes to go on this bed. It's not going to bump you up to the next time thing. Can I just take this apart? You're going to pay the same amount of money either way. And all it's going to mean is you're not going to have to finish out the last part of this. And I'll finish out the entire, like literally everything from A to Z that you said you want to get done will be done. You're good to go. Like, it's all done and it's not going to cost you any more money. Do you mind if I just complete this out? It's going to take me like 3 minutes. You're not getting charged any more money than you're going to get charged if I leave like right now. Are you okay with that? And again, the only reason I did that is because sometimes when they're in that mind frame of like, let's go, you got to kind of like, even if it completely makes sense, you got to make sure it makes sense to them, which is what matters. Like, am I going to cause this person more stress by just doing it? Or do I need to involve them in the process? Tell them what I'm thinking about doing, ask them if it's okay as a way to involve them in the process and take away that stress from them. And she was like, yeah, that's great. So much. Thank you so much. I appreciate you doing this. Wound up finishing out the bed. Left. She didn't get charged any more money. No matter when I left, whether it was 3 minutes prior or this time, she was getting charged the same exact amount either way. I think she went away slightly more happy than she would have been otherwise. I felt good about it because the entire job got done, even if it meant I missed out on a couple of minutes of time or whatever the hell it was. So those are like little things you can do with a cost-conscious customer. Oftentimes when I realize someone's super into cost, I will literally ask them some version of like, I understand you're trying to keep the bill as low as possible. What I'll usually do is I'll say something along, I'll take the spotlight off of them and I'll put it onto myself. I'll say, I understand that you're trying to keep the bill as low as humanly possible. I admire that more than anyone because I'm super like thrifty when I do work. So I admire that. I love it. What's your biggest priority here? And then let them talk. And then the next thing I'll typically do is I'll say, listen, here's how, I've been doing this a long time. Here's how you're going to get the most amount of work done for the least amount of money. So for example, there's a million different ways that could look like. But one of the ways that could look like, if you choose to, would be like, listen, we can for example, we can either pull all the drawers out of the dresser and just move the dresser itself. If you want to move the drawers yourself, save a lot of money that way. Every dresser you have in your house, you can do something like that. If you guys want to carry the lamps yourself, you guys can do that. That's something that's like time consuming because we got to take each lampshade off, each bulb out, wrap each one individually. They're pretty small typically. They're very easy to just pick up and put in the front seat of a car. If you're willing to do so, is that something you want to do? That's one way you can save some money. Hey, I noticed you have a ton of different pictures, a bunch of different like fragile little items and stuff. Those are the things that tend to take the most amount of money. Would it help you guys out if you took those? We didn't have to take them. It's going to not take as much time for us to do, and therefore you'd be saving money. Do you want us to do that, or would you prefer us take them? So the goal is like you're not being judgmental about any of this. You literally just ask them a question. Hey, do you want to do it and save some money, or do you want us to do it and you'll pay a little bit more money? Usually, again, that will look like more often than not, what it looks like is we're going to take the largest items that aren't going to fit in a car, put them in the truck. So dressers, bed, mattresses. Oftentimes, it's the stuff that's the most intimidating to the customer. So, for example, for whatever reason, people tend to think of beds more often than not. When I get a call, people will say something about like, I don't know how to take apart my bed. It seems to be like a thing that almost every job I get called on, I don't know how to take apart my bed. Can you do that? So it's like a relatively intimidating thing for people. So that would be another thing where more often than not, people would choose, if they were trying to save money, they'd say, hey, I'm going to focus on having you guys pull the dressers, the mattress, take apart the bed, and get our couches, and we're going to do the rest of the stuff. So what that would look like for me personally would be, just want to verify, you just want us to take the big stuff. We can make this, if you want us, if you want to spend the least amount of money possible, and you're willing to put in some sweat equity, one of the things we could do, for example, is if you literally just want us to take the couch, we'll just take the couch, we'll leave the cushions behind. We'll take the dresser, we'll leave the drawers behind. What else could we do? We'll take apart the bed for you, and then you can handle the rest of the stuff. Do you want us to do that? Yes or no? And then let them talk and figure out what their priorities are. And oftentimes what you'll find is the priority list is a completely moving, it's a train, and it's moving. I shouldn't use a train. Train's a bad analogy, because a train is in a fixed direction. The point of this analogy was their priority list it's constantly going left and right. So they'll tell you their priorities are A, B, and C, and then when it comes crunch time, where they're actually getting to the point where they're going to have to do the work themselves, oftentimes that switches. So it will start out being like, oh, you guys grab the couch and we'll get the love seat. And then I'll be like, all right, cool. And we'll move the couch. And then I'll be like, hey, you guys are going to get the love seat, right? That's what you said. And they'll be like, nah, why don't you guys just grab them? That happens like every day, every job I've ever done is the same story. It usually starts out cost is the most important thing, and then it becomes a moving target where over the course of the job, where they see us moving efficiently, they see things being done well, they'll say, hey, you know what? I'm okay with paying for this. You guys just do with it. Because what happens is they're starting to calculate all the work that's going to need to get done that they're going to have to do that they don't want to do, the liability that they're going to take on every time they pick up something, how much more skilled at doing this job we are. So it's going to be significantly easier for us to do it than it will be for them to do it. All these calculations are going on in their head, and so that moving target switches from I want to save as much money as possible to I want you guys to do it because I don't want to be inconvenienced anymore. Happens on literally every job, and it will happen to you too. The point is not what direction they decide to go in. The point is that you work with them to figure out what direction they want to go in, and then within the parameters of that direction, your job is to figure out, hey, how can I do as much work and make their life as easy as possible given the parameters of what they are trying to accomplish today. That is my end goal. Hope that made sense, guys. I know that was relatively verbose. If you need to get a hold of me, info@huskymoving.com, and website is huskymoving.com. As always, thanks for listening. And if you found any value, please like and subscribe. Thank you, guys.